Aloha, everyone. Thank you for joining us at the 2021 Next Steps to Your Future webinar series. We would like to remind everyone that today's presentation is being recorded and will be posted on the event website. If you have any questions for today's presenters, please add them to the chat box, and a moderator will share your questions at the end of the session. I'm so honored to introduce to you our amazing panel moderator today, Donalyn Delacruz. You may recognize her as a former television host or a local girl from Wahiawa. She's also one of the many inspiring and successful alumni of University of Hawaiʻi at Manoa. Please join me in welcoming Donalyn, who will now kick off our exciting panel session today.
Thanks, Lindsay. I was excited to get started because this is such an important topic. And for those who are just recently graduated and tuning in, congratulations. This is a momentous occasion for you. So as Lindsay said, I'm a proud graduate of UH, Manoa, and I'm also a public school graduate. And we have a great panel for you. So I'm gonna get started by kind of pointing them out. I'm gonna call each one by name. Of course, you've seen some of their bios. If you had time, great. And if you didn't have time, well, now's a great chance to meet them. So I'm gonna start off with Ala as he goes, but Keala, what is it? Let me see. Sorry, my eyesight, but we just know him as Ala, so we hardly call him by his full name. So why don't you go ahead and tell us, future veterinarian, what you're up to, where you've been, what was your graduating degree from, and get started. Go ahead.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Keala Ka'i, but like she said, most people call me Ala. I'm currently a third-year veterinary student at Iowa State University. I graduated from Hawaiʻi Community College in 2011 with a certificate in human services and my AA in liberal arts. And I transferred to UH Hilo, where I graduated in 2016 with a bachelor's in agriculture, specializing in pre-veterinary medicine, and a minor in intermolecular and cellular biology.
All right, I'm going to ask you a little bit more about how all of that works, because it's a lot in there, just in what was that, 4 years of study. So thank you for sharing that. Darsha, everyone meet Darsha. So why don't you go ahead and tell us where you went and what do you...
Hi, my name is Darsha, and I am a graduate of Kapi'olani Community College with a degree in nursing in 2014. And then also I went on to graduate from the University of Hawaiʻi at Manoa with a degree in nursing in 2015. I really love Kapi'olani Community College, so I went back and I got a degree in Hawaiian Studies in 2019. I currently work as a registered nurse. I primarily work in the emergency department, but have gone to many different settings, including working on a heart unit, working in corrections, as well as working in community and disaster preparedness.
And Darsha, when you were at KCC, I know that has really good food over there. So did you partake in some of the culinary arts that were happening at KCC?
That was one of the benefits of going to Kapi'olani Community College, is just having all the delicious pastries and having fresh food that was made every day.
Okay, so that's a plus for those of you thinking about Kapi'olani. And now we're going to move on to Harvey, because you're on my right on my screen. Everyone meet Harvey. Harvey, tell us about your background when you went back to school. I'm not going to say when, but go ahead and share your community college experience and from then on.
There you go. Okay. I want to thank you, Leeward, for allowing me to speak on their behalf, and welcome everyone here. I'm a little nervous, but I graduated from Waipahu High School. And when I graduated, that was in '68, I went right into Leeward College. When I graduated, I wasn't sure whether Leeward College would open. It was the first year we opened on the old Pro City High School campus, which was my elementary school. So I attended, I was one of the first attendees for Leeward College when it opened, and I attended there 2 years, got my AA degree, and then went on to the University of Hawaiʻi, Manoa, graduated in education, secondary math, and then eventually got my master's in counseling. So currently I'm retired. So folks have something good to look forward to. It's been great. I'm retired from the Department of Education. I've been in the education department for 40 years before I retired, and just had a great time.
Yes, but Harvey, you're kind of retired because now you're a small business owner. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, yes. I miss working with the kids, and somewhere along the line, I got into magic as a hobby and eventually turned it into a small side business. So I still love working with kids, and I just totally enjoy doing magic shows for them and their families.
Well, thank you, Harvey. And last but not least, we're gonna hear from Natalie. Hi, Natalie.
Hey, thank you so much, Donalyn. I really appreciate it. Congratulations to you all 2021 graduates. This has been definitely, I'm sure, a challenging year, and really just hats off to you all for making it through. I'm Natalie. I was born and raised on Oahu. I attended and graduated Leeward. Well, I guess I attended first Windward Community College, and then I transferred over to Leeward Community College, and I got an associate's degree there in liberal arts. I then went on to UH West Oahu when our campus was connected to LCC, and I got a bachelor's degree in English there. I also went to UH Manoa and got a master's degree in learning design and technology. I'm also a third-year PhD candidate, hopefully graduating in December, fingers crossed, with my PhD in learning design and technology. And I currently work at Amazon in our digital device and Alexa division. I work as a senior instructional designer and a global program manager, and I work with and support our product teams around devices, if you've heard of them, Fire TV, Kindle, Prime Video, Alexa, and also a few of our other internal and external tools and devices. So that's a little about me.
And as everyone can see, Natalie's a pro because look at her compared to us. She knows exactly what to bring to video conferences. So thanks, Natalie. All right. I want to go back to Ala. There was a lot there in terms of science and looking. Did you always have a love for animals? Because maybe some students are trying to figure it out. Was that what brought you to the community college first? Or were you just like, all right, I'm just gonna go here first and then decide what I want to do? Kind of tell us your journey.
So my dream was to actually become a social worker. So that's why I started the community college with their human services program. And through that 2 years that I was there, I was able to, live a little, find my passion. I grew up around animals and always loved it, but never saw myself into science and math. That was a bit hard, it still is. But at the end of the 2 years, I actually had my dog got hit by a car, and going through that process of just trying to find a vet and working with them to work through his case, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna transfer to UH for 1 semester, try a little bit of psychology classes, a little bit of sociology, and a little bit of animal science. And throughout that first semester, I realized, you know what, I'm changing. I'm going with this direction. And I had to start from scratch and go the route of the biology and pre-veterinary medicine.
Looking back, do you think that was the right choice for you?
Yeah, I do. I just kind of wish I realized it earlier. It did take me longer than 4 years to graduate because I had changed my major already 2.5 years in. So the math and science that I avoided in my first 2 years, I had to start with the basics again and work my way up.
Okay, and I want to take it to Natalie now, the same kind of question, because you started at Windward, then went to Leeward, and here you are. I mean, lifelong learner, you're a working, professional and still getting another degree. So what made you, as you take a look back, did you know your path, or did going to a community college help set your path for you?
I love that question, and I love it because I had no path. To be quite honest, I didn't like school. And in high school, I flunked a lot. I wasn't a good student. I wasn't diligent. You know, academic and academia was not in my career trajectory. And I thought at, you know, one point as a 14-year-old, like, why would anyone want to go to college and waste more time going to school? But something, you know, changed when I was 18 and kind of fresh out of high school and realized, you know, like, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? Like, should I try this college route? Should I not? And I thought, you know, maybe I'll just try one class. My dad had a small surf shop in Windward, in the Windward area. And so I decided, you know, I'll just drive to work with my dad and go to Windward Community College because it was just down the road. And I enrolled in one class. You know, and I just thought, I'm going to try this out and see if college is for me. And if I don't like this class, if this is a junk experience, I'm not going to go back. And I'm so glad that that was one of the best classes that I ever took, because that class was an English 100 class. And I remember, you know, feeling so intimidated, feeling like I was not smart enough. I was so scared to fail. And I went into that class and I fell in love with English. And that actually class, from that experience, I told myself, I'm going to become an English professor and I'm going to do exactly that. And of course, you know, my path has twisted and turned a bit from there. But that class really helped to, you know, set me on a career projection that I would have never imagined had I not taken it.
What was it like to go from Windward to Leeward?
I actually really, I love both campuses. You know, I think Windward is one of the most beautiful campuses, and I really love that environment. But I think for me, one of the big pieces was the drive. It was a shorter drive from home. I was living in Eva Beach at the time. And so it was a little bit of a transition in terms of just getting used to the campus, figuring out where things were, figuring out where I could access help. And so it took a little time and a lot of questions, but everyone at both campuses was so friendly. Everyone was more than willing to help. And I think that the staff and faculty there really made that transition, I think, much smoother and easier for me.
Thank you. And Darsha, did you know that you wanted to, you know, go into nursing? And if you did, why not just start off at a 4-year college?
So coming out of high school, I knew I wanted to go into nursing. And I actually did start off at a 4-year college. And I had this plan, and the plan was 4 years in college, and then I'm never going to college again, and I have my nursing degree. But I didn't have the greatest family support. So during my sophomore year of college, one of the big things is being able to pay for college. So the primary way that I was doing that was through scholarships and through financial aid. And because I did not have that strong family support during my sophomore year of college, I basically lost all my scholarships because my family refused to sign all my forms. So I was super devastated. I was like, I don't want to go to college. I can't afford to pay for any of this. So I came back home and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I didn't even realize that there were options such as community colleges where someone could go and just take like 1 or 2 classes at a time versus having to take all 12 or 15 credits. So that was how I ended up at Kapi'olani Community College. I went there to, I had looked it up. I went there and the first thing I fell in love with was their cactus garden. I had been so devastated by not being able to do my plan of 4 years in college, like everybody else in my class was doing. And just sitting there and taking time to reflect, not only that time, but over the next few years that I was at Kapi'olani Community College, that just brought me so much peace. The other thing that was great about the campus was I had this wonderful support that I didn't find with my family. You know, I found friends who I have to this day. I found counselors who actually really cared about me continuing on and graduating and making a plan for what I wanted to do. So I found a really great support system at Kapi'olani Community College that I didn't necessarily have from my family.
Thank you. Kealakai, you were kind of nodding a lot as she was, as Darsha was speaking with regards to, just the financial support and all of that. Did that resonate with you?
Oh, definitely. I come from a low income family. I'm a first generation college student. And my family always jokingly told me, you can do anything you want once you graduate high school. Just don't ask us for money. That was the joke. And they support me. Anything I want to do, they're there for motivational support. They've always had a place for me to stay, but they physically could not afford to send me to college. So financial aid, scholarships, well, not so much scholarships because I wasn't the greatest student in high school, but the whole financial aid aspect of the community college did draw me in, definitely.
Thank you. And Harvey, I wanted to ask you the same, looking back and having been an educator in our public school system, do you think starting off your career at the community college was the right decision for you?
Definitely, without hesitation. There's no doubt. When I graduated high school, my intention was to attend the University of Hawaiʻi. I already had applied for the College of Engineering, so I was ready to go. And community college, Leeward, was not quite a goal at the time. So I don't know when exactly the news came out, but I applied for Leeward, and I definitely, at that time, in my mind anyway, it was taking a chance because I wasn't sure whether Leeward would open, and I wasn't also sure if the credits would transfer. At least that was a rumor at the time. So I think it was a wonderful decision. I was able to transition slowly to college life. I could hang out with my friends, play sports in the community, and I could walk 2 blocks to where the old campus was. So it was a no-brainer for me, although again, I was still a little nervous. And later on, it gave me some time to think about my future. And I worked for the city and county traffic department and as a student engineer's aide, and I hated it. So I had second thoughts about going into engineering, and I fell behind in the curriculum anyway by being a Leeward. So, but the second year at Leeward, I got again into the city and county program as a recreational aide for the summer fun program, and that experience changed my life, and that's why I decided to go into education.
You bring up a really good point, and that's the concern of credits. So for you, you had some success, right? Was there any, Harvey, did you run into any roadblocks trying to make that transition? And I'm going to ask the same about all the other panelists.
No, you mean as far as credits?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little challenging. I think, like, is this going to happen? Or did you run any issues?
I was a little surprised that all of my credits transferred. I was told that anything 100 or over would transfer to the university. So I took that advice and took all 100 courses or numbered 100 or higher. And I think I transferred like 65 credits. And transferring to the university with 65 credits and with junior status makes a big difference when you register. I mean, as opposed to registering as a freshman or sophomore. So I definitely, again, thought it was I made the right decision going to Leeward before I transferred to University of Hawaiʻi.
Thank you. And Natalie, you talked about the English 100 course, right? So all of that coming back to you now, all of these early courses that you got done at the community college level, did you find any obstacles or tell us either challenges or your success as you were going your way through from even Windward to Leeward maybe?
Yeah, fortunately, I had a very similar story to Harvey. I think I transferred about 65 or 69 credits overall from my community college experience to the university. But I had no issues. I mean, transferring, you know, and shifting over from Windward Community College to Leeward Community College. All of my my 3 credits, my English 100 was accepted. And similar to Harvey, you know, I was given the same advice to, you know, take as many of those 100 level courses as you can, and those 200 level courses. And even, you know, after transferring to UH West Oahu, I realized that there was a few 200 level courses that were required for my bachelor's degree, and they were offered at Leeward Community College at a cheaper rate. So I ended up going back to Leeward Community College and taking those, you know, I think it was three 200 level classes that then, you know, easily transitioned over to my bachelor's degree. So it was a really great experience.
Well, that's also an awesome tip. So shoot, I'm thinking back, like, I wish I knew that, because, you know, the financial hardship has been raised and it's a reality, and especially now. So how did you know to look back there? Did you have a counselor, or is it because you came from the community college level that you thought, I want to look at what's happening there?
Yeah, such a good question. And definitely with the financial hardship. I mean, I was working 3 jobs to pay for school. And I, number one, knew that classes were just a lot cheaper at Leeward Community Colleges college as compared to the university, just based on experience. And so when I kind of got an advising sheet from one of the great academic advisors at UH West Oahu, they said, oh, you need English 200 and you need, math 103, and, you need these classes. And so I was like, well, I'm already kind of a student. I know I graduated from Leeward, but I think I can go back. So I'm just going to try and enroll. So I should have probably asked an academic advisor to make sure that was okay. But I went ahead and just, enrolled into those classes that I needed at Leeward Community College, and they transferred no problem. So yeah, it was kind of me based on prior experiences and somewhat guessing, and also just want to pay less for classes. But I definitely think that, in hindsight, I should have just double checked with an academic advisor to just make sure that that was the correct pathway or okay to do.
And, in your experience, what's coming to mind is kind of like some of the myths, right? Like if you go to community college, it's not maybe of higher quality education. Darsha, you started off 4-year college, went to KCC Kapiolani. So when you were there, you talked about that support system. So having been at kind of the big college and kind of reversing it and then going back again, tell us your experience. Did you feel that you got more support? Did you feel at all that the level of education you received was less than?
Definitely not feeling that the level of education was less than. And I was also transferring from a college that was in Colorado back home to Hawaii. And I think pretty much everybody who has lived in Hawaii knows that there is a much different culture here. So it's a lot more supportive and a lot more collaborative, working together. So my college in Colorado was really great. It was an excellent school, but transferring back, I was getting also that level of support that, this is how you can, you have these challenges right now. So this is how you can kind of help to not only attain your goals, but do it in a way that works with the money that you have. So when you're paying per credit, each credit becomes super important, and it becomes super important to do well in that class because you're paying for each time, each grade that you're getting, you're paying for that. So I definitely didn't feel like the level of education was lower. It was, same or better. And I also had that support system that I didn't necessarily have when I was in Colorado, because I was from out of state when I went to Colorado. Yes, so when you're paying per credit, it's definitely important to make sure that each credit that you're taking is something that is going to go towards a degree or towards something that you need. And what's really great about UH right now is once you get accepted to one of the colleges, you can try on different hats. You can say, oh, I'm interested in this degree. And you can see everything that you'll need to complete to get that degree. And then you can also meet really easily with an academic advisor. They have it online right now, so it's super easy to do.
Thank you. And Ala, same with you. Did you find any issues going from the community college then to UH Hilo? Was there any type of like, oh, what do I do now? Or were you ever lost? Or did somebody just say, here, we got you and we will help you?
So when I transferred, there was actually like a transfer orientation with my college, my new college advisor at the university. And they were able to say, okay, well, all these credits have transferred and this is what you need to take next. And from that day, I had already told them, I want to go to veterinary school. And I brought with me all the requirements for veterinary school. I said, okay, how do I get these filled as well? And they were able to show me, okay, you take this class from this campus. You can take this class online from another campus. And it was really smooth. I was a little worried about transferring those credits or in my application to veterinary school because there are none in state. So I thought, oh, will they accept my Hawaiian studies or my Hawaiian history class as a history credit? But it all worked out and I was very pleased with that process.
When you were going through that process and then meeting new students, did you kind of hear anything like, you started off at the community college? In other words, was there a stigma that maybe people kind of shed that they should realize, just hear from this panel alone, clearly you guys are all successful, but do you think that there is a stigma starting off with community college levels?
I think there is. It's kind of unspoken, but when I would say that I came from a community college to my peers, they always seemed surprised. Even till today in Iowa, they ask me, oh, what school did you go to? Oh, I went to school in Hawaii. I started at community college and then the university. Like, oh, okay. Like I still made it. We got the same education. I paid less and I did it all from home.
And it's not just about the painless, which is still a huge benefit. Mm-hmm. But Harvey, did you, as you having been an educator, how important is it in terms of that kind of learner ratio in the classroom? Did you feel that you got more attention, and do you ever advise as you were in the position that you were later as a professional, people asking you like, what should I do? And then it's a big campus versus a smaller campus.
Great question. I just want to maybe a side note is cost was a factor in my decision when I attended it. It was $25 a semester, just to let you know at that time. And I think the UH was like maybe $100 a semester. So it was a no-brainer. Anyway, yes, the class size as a when I was teaching definitely would affect the quality of my ability to reach out individually to students. So they would offer, at least in my mind, a smaller class size, friendlier teachers, and of course, again, just walking to school. Of course, when the campus changed to the current campus now, it was still, I don't know, maybe half a mile away or something, but it was still very, very close. But the class size definitely, for me, in my mind, when I went to the university, I still, even as a junior, had to take some undergrad courses. And I remember attending classes like varsity theater, where hundreds and of students were there. So, I think the largest class that the largest classroom might have had like 30, something like that. I'm not sure. And many of the other classes, the classes I took weren't a whole lot of students, calculus and physics. I think we had like 3 students that were taking classes that I was taking at Leeward. So we could ask all the questions we wanted, and without hesitation, the teacher, I felt like the teacher cared and could give the time to our individual students.
What kind of influence did that have on you as you then later became an educator?
no matter how large a class was, I'd always try to reach out to those students that had a hard time and, try to give them individual attention. If they needed help during recess, after school, I value, even during recess, kids would come into my class and, just chat about their families. I mean, just that it doesn't have to be academic. Even that personal touch that I thought the faculty at Leeward really cared. When I went to the university, I can't honestly say that the professors didn't care, but I got the feeling like, if you failed, you failed, and they expected like a certain percentage of their classes, students in there to fail, and I just didn't get that connection as much. I can't say I can't speak for all. There were professors at the university that I got to know very well, but at Leeward, I just felt that each and every one of the teachers cared. And I tried to do that when I moved on to as a teacher, counselor, and administrator.
Thank you. And for those who are tuning in and wondering what was varsity theater, it was located on University Avenue, and it was a stop. In my time, it was kind of the place for art and art films, but nostalgic moment there. Thanks, Harvey. Natalie, I saw you nodding your head. Can you share an experience of a shift that you noticed from community colleges and then when you went to the university where you thought, this is a little different, I got more attention or maybe less attention?
Yeah, I think my experience was a little unique because I felt like in a way at the time UH West Oahu, we were in these portable bunkers on the Leeward Community College campus. And so it felt in a way like I was going to the same school, the same place. I just had to walk a little farther to class. But I definitely, I remember, the transition. It felt unknown. It felt a little scary, but at the same time, most of my classmates had transferred from LCC. And so there was this sort of immediate increase of confidence. And I already had friends who were in programs at UH West Oahu, so I think that really helped. In terms of sort of the class teacher ratio, I had really comparable class sizes. And so I couldn't say, that the attention that I received was any more or less between LCC and UH West Oahu. But I definitely would just, echo what Harvey said. I really felt like the faculty at LCC helped to increase my confidence, helped me to get past that imposter syndrome. I felt like they were really approachable and friendly, and they were relatable, and they understood the struggle. Which I really appreciated. And I think, ultimately my experiences at LCC really equipped me, they empowered me, and really prepared me to be successful in my next steps as I walked over to the UH West Oahu campus.
Thank you. Darsha, did you have that feeling too? I mean, you were really great at sharing, the difficulties and maybe not the supports that everyone has. And I think, honestly, that's a shared story among many graduates today, right? Things are really tough. So how did you keep going? How did you know, like, this is my next step? It's going to be at KCC. I'm going to do what needs to get done. What kept you going?
Like I a little bit said before, the counselors over at Kapiolani Community College, they're really good. It's easy to make an appointment, even more so now because with COVID, we had like a lot of really, really terrible things. But one of the good things is there's increased access to seeing a counselor online easily. So scheduling an appointment, easy to see them, easy to call in as well. So once you get accepted to one of the campuses, it's easy to contact your academic advisor. And so going to KCC gave me this really great foundation. Their nursing program is very strict. So they take a very small number of students with each semester. And they do have pretty high expectations for each semester of what you're supposed to do. But getting through that was such a great foundation to transferring over to the University of Hawaiʻi at Manoa, because they, again, expect you to have these really high standards, and having that good foundation at KCC made it a lot easier to transition to the University of Hawaiʻi at Manoa, because I had already been through like all the hoops that they could possibly throw at you.
You think that, I know I mentioned the culinary arts at Kapiolani, but Kapiolani is also known for its kind of nursing steps. Do you feel that too, in terms of when you say I went to KCC, people are like, oh yeah, that's kind of the place you should be if you're going to go into this field?
Yes, so they actually win awards all the time for their levels of academic excellence. Their programs are pretty rigorous, but they also do give you that support. So they have those smaller class sizes that they are able to, you can easily, talk with your counselors, and you're talking about where you're trying to get to, and you got that good support going through it.
Thank you. Ala, do you want to share any experience that sticks out in your mind when everyone's talking about as they started off, and here you are continuing, and we're going to welcome you back home with open arms, but it is a journey, right? This whole journey. And so looking back, if you were to talk to somebody and say, yeah, I started off here, maybe I wasn't sure where I was going. At what point did you know, like, okay, this is the path, and I now know what the end of the tunnel looks like?
Yeah, I'm definitely glad I started at the community college. Like all these other people had mentioned, the class size did have a big impact, but not just that, just the culture. Starting at Hawaii Community College, their mentality as just a group amongst all the professors, they try to infuse every class with Hawaiian culture. So a lot of my professors, rather than calling them professor or doctor or sir or ma'am, it's auntie, and she knows me by name. She knows who my mom is, who my dad is, even if she's never met them. They take that extra step on that first day of class to make sure we all know each other, where we're coming from, and that they use a place-based pedagogy. So they're teaching according to where they're at, even though many of them have gone to school to learn how to teach, maybe in the mainland or somewhere else. When they come back, they reassess. I'm not going to teach the way I would teach students there. I'm going to be working on teaching students here. And that helped me a lot. When I transferred to UH Hilo even though it's still a smaller university, like you folks shared, going into that larger class size in that auditorium type seating, I don't remember my professors' names. I just remember going there with 80 other students, bombing the class, retaking it another term, and trying again because I'm just kind of drowning on my own. Whereas at the community college, if I don't show up, Auntie Sandy is sending me an email asking, where were you? Are you okay? Do you need food? And it's just having that type of support, like Darsha was saying, at the community college level.
And that is such a great experience to have. It's bringing me back. And it's true, you do feel a little like overwhelmed. And then you can get, it can kind of make you think like, well, no one's watching me anyway. And then you forget like, uh-oh, all of this was due. So, and I'm speaking maybe from experience, but it's just like, I'm failing this? How is that possible? And then you realize, well, okay, I may have skipped a few classes here and there, right? So I think what a unique and beautiful experience. I think like if I had an auntie, that's the fear, right, of local family, like, oh my God, like if somebody's gonna call me out and say you didn't show up. Is that how you felt?
Yeah, I was like, oh no, Auntie's gonna show up at my house and talk to my grandma and tell her I didn't show up. Am I sick?
Oh, that's wonderful. So we still have some folks watching. We want to welcome those who joined us late. And just say, congratulations if you're a newly graduate and you're looking at community college. This panel has shared a lot with regards to not just the class size differentiate, but also kind of like the cultural experience, right? And what you're going through. So now I kind of want to switch it from, you started the base at community college. How did you know, okay, next steps? Is it just from the counseling? Is it kind of the friends you make? Is it at that stage you think money is the motivator of what to do next? So Natalie, I'll start with you.
Sure. Yeah, I think that Darsha might have mentioned this about, just the cool opportunity about community college is that you can try a bunch of different classes and explore and experiment. And that was definitely my story. I mean, I think I changed my associate's degree 5 times. I wanted to do instructional design. And then I wanted to do photography, and then I wanted to do microbiology, and then geography, and then kind of ended up, well, I really like English. And UH West Oahu, they have a really great English program, so maybe I'll do that. So I ended up taking a bunch more English classes at LCC and decided, I think I'm pretty okay at English, so I think I'm maybe cut out to do a bachelor's degree in English. Again, it's kind of overcoming this imposter syndrome of like, am I smart enough? Am I capable enough? Can I really do this? And so I decided to stick with something that I really loved, and that was English. And I think that really kind of having an idea of, all right, kind of landing on my second year, that English is, I think, the route I want to take, working with academic advisors at LCC, and then also that transfer process of meeting with academic advisors at UH West Oahu, and then determining, with my handy dandy sheet of electives and courses that I needed to achieve my bachelor's degree in English, what I needed to do, and kind of game plan from there. So I definitely think that, I tried a bunch of different things. I'm interested in too many things. I mean, I'd love to go back to LCC and, take more biology classes and photography classes and whatnot. But yeah, kind of finding something that I felt like I was pretty good at and enjoyed. That was the route I took. And that helped me kind of determine what my next steps were after I finished at LCC.
Great. I'm going to get to some of these questions, but Harvey, what about you? Did you realize at that switch point, right? Engineering to now education, and then taking that path. Did you take more courses to figure that out? Was that the same kind of idea of, I'm going to try this and that before making that decision?
I still wasn't sure. There weren't education courses specifically at Leeward. So I just applied to the University College of Education and got in. In terms of Leeward preparing, I can't remember that there were any courses in particular that I took at Leeward to prepare for education. I just applied and got in, luckily, to the College of Education and continued there. And it was basically, what I remember is the experience from that summer fun, being a summer fun adult leader as a recreation aide. That I just loved it. And who could turn down a career with 3 months of vacation and working 186 days a year?
Okay. I will cut you off there because we appreciate our teachers very, very much.
I did want to mention that I hated traffic. That was another thing. So
yes,
Leeward offered me parking and having to not drive into traffic. I mean, that was another factor that people may want to consider. Paying for parking at the university might get to be a budget item.
Absolutely. As Natalie said in the beginning, she got to catch a ride with her dad. I mean, you can't get any better than that in terms of transport. So we've got some questions coming in. I'm going to address some of them. I'll kind of go from here and there as I look through them. But Kealakai, do you mind taking the student activities or programs that you think that they should consider at community college level right now as they're taking a look at this?
Sure. As far as student activities, there is student government, there's a student life council at most campuses. You can also get involved in your Phi Theta Kappa, which is an honor society if you are a student that excels. A lot of times when you're attending a community college, you also have the opportunity to join student clubs that are located within universities, within the university bylaws for their campus clubs. Typically, they'll allocate around 20% of their club membership can be from the community college, because all 10 UH campuses within our system are kind of sisters to each other. So that's a good way to not only get involved in campus activities, but also to get kind of a little bit of insight into a program you might be thinking about going into in the future and making those contacts while you're currently at the community college level.
Great. And I would, if you're on campus, and I've seen this, right, I would always pay attention to the bulletin boards, because you never know when there's some sort of, activity that kind of speaks to you outside of the academic world, right? So I think those are things that you would discover on campus. Darsha, someone's asking in regards to what would you recommend for students that aren't completely motivated? What do you think? Like, what kind of advice would you give them? They know possibly that yes, higher education is the way to go, so I'm going to go to a community college. What other advice would you give them?
A lot of the time, and this is what I say to when I speak to like little kids too, at any age, I think a lot of the time when we're unmotivated, it's related to not doing something that we love. So I would never want anybody to do something for the rest of their life if they don't love it. That is a great thing about community college. As Natalie mentioned, you can try different classes. You can see, hey, well, maybe this isn't something that I really want to do for the rest of my life. I think Harvey even mentioned it. He was talking about the engineering internship. He said, I didn't like it. So finding something that you really love, I think, is that key driver to not be to get away from that being unmotivated. Because if you find something you love, you want to do it every day. So
how does that work, right? So these are brand new students just looking at the courses. Is it that, oh, well, this one sounds fun, it's interesting, but I think there's that fear of like, yeah, but then it's going to cost me this, and shouldn't I be putting in money and effort into something that's going to get me somewhere? So what would you tell them?
So again, you shouldn't, money for me, that was one issue I had, but I already knew kind of where I wanted to go. So it was just a matter of how do I get the funds? How do I get the support to get there? If you don't really know what you want to do yet, and you aren't like, oh, I can't be taking all of these classes because that's going to cost me too much money. Community colleges and colleges in general are great places to find volunteer activities. So that doesn't cost you any money, might cost you a little bit of time, but you can see, hey, I'm going to this food distribution. Maybe this is something I'm interested in. I'm volunteering at this veterinarian clinic. Maybe this is something I'm interested in. So that's a great place to not only, take those classes that might help you get your degree, but to also find resources at the college to volunteer in the community as well, and find something that you really love. Because I don't ever suggest that anybody ever does anything that they hate for the rest of their life.
Absolutely great advice. Natalie, you went from Windward to Leeward, and then you're still, moving on in your track. So what department would you say is most critical to know? And on that same note, it's reflecting back to maybe not knowing where you want to go. So who do you talk to?
Oh man, there's so many departments. I'm a huge advocate of tutoring and academic support services. And so I definitely think that tutoring is a really important department or service that's free to UH students. We have tutoring centers, writing centers, learning centers on every single one of our UH campuses. And those are places to not only go and get help and support, but also just to be. There's so many learning centers that even offer, PB&J sandwiches, for free or for really cheap. And so I can't say, take advantage of your tutoring centers. I think another department that's really critical is academic advising or student counseling. I mean, I think that a couple of our different community colleges might have different terms for sort of these academic advisors, but they're really people who are experts. They know the different career pathways that the community colleges offer and can help make sure that you at least can experience and explore different classes if you're not quite sure what you want to do, or if you have an idea of exactly what you want to do, they're going to get your classes set up for you and help you make sure that your route is very clear and successful.
This is great. I'm going to ask each one of you, there are questions coming in that's very specific to your backgrounds. So Harvey, I'm going to start with you. It says, what are some tips you'd offer to educators to help their students plan out their degree path?
I would echo what Darsha had mentioned in terms of taking courses that interest you, while you're at a community college or even at the university. Take courses and you never know, something might grab at you and jump out at you, and it might change the course of your life. Interests as far as hobbies, just take a, like I said, my experience with the city and county was just a chance. I just happened to have the right experience at the right time in my life, and it changed my life. And when I went to the university, for example, I decided to try something different. Like I said, I hate traffic, so I decided to dorm. I was at Haleʻiʻaʻolima dorm for 4 years, and during that time, I almost changed my career path again and to take a career in student housing. But it was at that time that I decided that I would go into counseling, but not right away, that I would go first into education as a teacher, and then my ultimate goal would be into counseling because of my experiences at the dormitory. So just again, to echo what Darsha said, take courses, get experiences, all kinds of experience, and you never know what you might gravitate to. It'll come, even magic.
Thank you. Yes, and from the magic man himself. So thank you. Kealaka'i, someone is interested in veterinarian. So what would you tell them? Where do they go? How did they get started on this pre-vet major? I guess they're kind of trying to understand your path.
Sure. So to be a pre-vet major, that would occur once you transfer into a university level. At the community college itself, you would probably do a liberal arts degree, which allows you to experience your sciences, your maths, get some of the basics out of the way, along with your Englishes and all of those. And then when you transfer to the university level, and you can do this with either UH Manoa or UH Hilo, they both have pre-veterinary programs. You would just be taking those upper level animal science courses, the higher level physics, chemistry, organic chemistry, all those classes I took a long time ago that are flooding back right now. But yeah, you would just start at any community college. Another option a lot of students entering vet school now are doing is they're actually getting their undergraduate degree as a veterinary technician, which some of our community college within the state have started to offer. So I believe Maui, Oahu, and Hilo all have options for that program. As well as Kona. I'm not sure about Kauai yet, but most of our campuses do offer some type of veterinary tech schoolwork that you could take.
Thank you. And Darsha, someone's asking, for he or she says, going through the UHRN program, do you get the feeling that being at a local college that you had a better opportunity of getting into hospitals here?
Yeah, so for each, so in the nursing program, for each semester, you are in a clinical placement. So you go to someplace in the community or at a hospital and you get real world experience. And with that real world experience, you also get to meet people who are already working in that field and build those connections. And if they see how you work and like how you work, those are opportunities to get jobs here in Hawaii, which is really difficult because we have a lot fewer new graduate programs. So once you graduate from nursing school, you usually go through a new graduate program so that they can train you in how they'd like you to be working in their specific hospital or their specific clinic or specific setting. So building those connections with people is very important. And the placements opportunities that you get by going to a college here in Hawaii is very important if you want to continue working here in Hawaii.
Wonderful, thank you. And Natalie, can you share how you got your position at Amazon? And did your degree help you get that job?
Yeah, I'd love to. I guess the long story short is that it started with that English 100 class, and it morphed down to student employment. And I can't speak enough or speak highly enough of being a student and working, if you can, within one of our UH community colleges or within our university. I had the opportunities to start working as a student tutor. I was a writing tutor at the UH West Oahu No'eau Writing Center, and that opportunity was not only incredibly satisfying to be able to help and support my peers, but it also opened a web of networking. I think very similar to Darsha. I got to work as a university student, but I also got to meet so many different people working within the UH system, and that was really incredible because not only did I get to meet people, but they also got to see how I worked. And after graduating, I was offered a position after graduation to return to UH West Oahu and work within the No'eau Learning Center. And that, kind of position really challenged me to do a lot of work online and looking at transitioning and converting more of our services online to support and provide more support services for our students in our outer islands. And that led me to pursuing a degree in learning design and technology. And from that degree, I learned kind of this whole wealth of new skills that really helped to prepare me and help to kind of move my career pathway along. And so I think, all of these little pieces, just kind of where opportunities arose, I tried to take them, as Harvey said. And I think that, it all kind of stemmed from that student tutor experience and that student job, and then also that English 100 class. But to speak just really briefly about, how I got the position, it was really these dynamic experiences between work and school that helped to prepare and equip me. And sort of the long story short here is that a recruiter reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, hey, I was looking at your LinkedIn and you have all these skills and we're, looking for somebody to fill this role. I think you'd be a great fit. And so I went through a series of interviews and got landed a job offer, and I decided to take it. But definitely, I think that I attribute a lot of my success from my community and support network, and certainly working as a student tutor on campus was huge.
And we can remind people that Natalie is now going after her PhD, so it continues. We had talked about the transition from community college to the university levels before, but someone is just asking, Darsha, if you could just indulge, was transferring to UH Manoa Nursing from a community college hard?
So they actually come to you in your last semester, specifically at KCC, and they will tell you how you're able to transfer. And it's called a bridge program. And it's actually really easy. Once you are graduated from KCC, it's a really easy transition over, and the counselors will help you. Other thing is they also take people from other programs, nursing programs in the States, like Maui Community College. We have a couple programs on Big Island as well. So if you're interested in starting at the community college, the counselors will help you do that bridge program.
Thank you very much. And really quickly, I want to ask Ala, this is, the title is what's the power and promise of designing your future? So what would you say the power is of starting off at a community college?
For me, the power in starting at a community college is that it really just gives you the opportunity to try different things, to learn to be an adult, to learn to be a student, and to find your passion. If I had started at the university, I would have not been here today. I can tell you that I would have been scared out of my mind walking into a auditorium of 80 people, and had I not had that little 1:30 class ratio, I would not have made it this far. So I think the community college is one of those hidden secrets that people don't really think about, but it really does give a fair opportunity to a lot of people that otherwise would not have pursued higher education. I have 9 siblings and none of them have gone to college, or if they have dropped out. You know, and they all went directly to a 4-year institution if they did attempt going to college. I'm the only one that stuck it out, and I 100% attribute that to my experience with starting at a community college, starting small, especially if you were like me and had a tendency to leave school to go to the beach instead of do my homework in high school, you know, or eat a poke bowl. Coming to the community college and starting small, learning just how to be an adult and be responsible for myself, that was great.
And that is definitely also the promise of designing your future at a community college. So I want to thank all of these wonderful people. You guys have just been awesome. We hope that those who are listening took away some nuggets. There were a lot of nuggets. And as was mentioned at the start, this is recorded, so you can always revisit this. So mahalo for joining us.